I'm not sure if you can see this right away, but hey, we're doing this. I'm going live. What's going on? My name is Tyler Hayden. I am super stoked to join you today. Today, I want to share with you some information around the best team building activities for remote teams. Most of what we read about remote team building is someone has Googled, fun Zoom ideas, then hit publish, and they're starting from there. For the last 30 years, I have been involved in banking. I've been involved in manufacturing, PGA, project management, helping teams and managers to align and connect and improve their culture. So in the next about 5 minutes, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way and that we cover in team building school. So if you're interested, let's check it out. All right. All right, so a little authenticity, a little honest. I'm doing my very first big live stream tomorrow, and I'm testing it out. So I thought I would share some information for you. So there might be some technological glitches while I'm going from camera to camera, or we're trying to figure out how to get the presentation to load. But bear with me. I've got some great remote first activities for you. So here we go. Before I recommend an absolute single activity that will help you with your remote team building, here's the first thing that we need to know. It's not about head count. It's about who's in the room. That is how we build our teams at team building school. So the managers that I work with, we help them to understand who's in the room. What are people's learning preferences? How do they like to learn? What types of jobs are they in? We use a tool called Multiple Intelligence Quotient. It's a tool built by, it's based on the work of Howard Gardner, a Harvard professor, prof, who talks about the different learning preferences that can help guide people towards jobs that they might find engaging. So for example, if you're a kinesthetic learner, you might be interested in construction or policing or something that's hands-on. If you're mathematical logical, maybe a path towards engineering is your path, or being an actuary or an accountant. If you're interpersonal, maybe sales or counseling, that kind of thing. And there's 8 of them. So there's kinesthetic, there's logical, there's interpersonal, there's intrapersonal, visual, linguistic, musical, and naturalistic. And once we understand who's who in the room, then we can really start to pick the activities that are going to land, whether it's remote, whether it's hybrid, or whether it's in person. And if we get this wrong, that's when people push back and they start to go, you know what? I don't think team building's for me. A couple months ago, I was working with the PGA, and as I was designing their event, what I realized is I was assuming that they would be solely kinesthetic learners and not as intrapersonal as they were. They were golf pros that I was working with, and I had to switch my entire plan of how I was going to work with them, because what really mattered was that they could get their hands on the experiences, and they could work with what we were learning hands on, and the result of that was full engagement. And we need to diagnose first, not assume who's in the room. So that's number 1, is understanding who's who in the zoo, who's in the room, and how do we reach them. Next, the next mistake that managers make is to absolutely lean on some other manager's success. They hear that somebody had a great experience doing this team building event. Their team makeup is absolutely different. So, we have to make sure that it's designed for the people that are in your room, because if it wasn't designed for your people, it's not necessarily going to land. Each team has its own unique relative context in the way in which they work and what it is they're looking for. Team building activities that land are ones that are based on relative content. It's based on something that they're actually doing in the workplace today. So we're looking at how we can connect the team building activities with what's happening in their workflow. So maybe it's launching a new sales system, maybe it's a new SaaS product, maybe it's a new program to help the local community, maybe it's onboarding. What's happening for that team, and build a team building activity around that. That way, it's not deemed as fluffy. It's not just, oh, we're going to sing Kumbaya and do trust falls. It's about giving it context, real world context into the work that they're doing. And we can do that. I can show you how to do that. As an example, I was working with a group of project managers in the States, and we were talking with one of the managers, and she said, listen, you don't understand. I work at NASA, and I work with engineers. They don't do team building. And so what we created was a program that was mathematical, logical, had them in mind, and then gave them the ability to lean in based on the specific work that they were doing. All right, so here we go. Everyone launches a fun team building on activity on Zoom, and it deflates like a birthday party balloon, right? And here's exactly what goes wrong. One is they run the activity for way too long, particularly in remote first teams. The attention spans are those of a nit. I mean, they're moving fast, and you want to end at the high point of the activity. It's not about the product that you're creating as much as the process that you're taking them through. Rules are important, and they have to be quick and pithy so that you can get into the activity right away. So I encourage that you practice the activity, maybe at home with your family or with your coworkers who are close to you, before you launch it with your remote team. That gives you the experience and context of running that activity. And then as your team is launching through that activity, you want to stop when it's hitting its highest point. You don't want to let it come over the top of that wave and curl down. That will deflate what you're doing. People, you want to stop when they are still leaning in, when they want more. We want them to be curious and energized. That's the true nature of what an icebreaker is all about. Here's something that you can try. A lot of managers love to ask that question, kind of that aligning question, and they'll put it out to the group. I wrote a book called Coffee Talk, and inside Coffee Talk, you can open up the book, and there's an open-ended statement. Inside that open-ended statement, you launch that to your team. You say, hey, what is your favorite way to spend the weekend if you have time for yourself? And people put in, I like reading, I like writing, I like gardening, whatever their thing is. And we build commonalities in that way. So we love to ask those questions. But to ramp it up inside of a remote first team, what you can do is you can do the waterfall technique, make it a little bit more special. So before they answer the question, tell them to type it into the chat box, but then don't press send or return until you do a countdown of 3, 2, 1. And when you do that, when you hit 1, then everybody can hit send. And if you do that, it makes this beautiful, very cool waterfall technique of all the answers coming down. And it's quicker, it's more pithy, and you can jump on and talk about those things that you see. The reason it works is because it's fast, it's visual, and it's exciting. Every person gets a voice. Everybody gets seen inside that activity. And you know what? It only takes about 3 minutes to do. So how do we scale our remote team building? Whether you're running a team of 10 or an organization of 500, the approach does change. And here's how to think about scale. When we run live events, we're doing it with everybody at the same time. So a team of like 10 to 50, people can all participate, and it's a synchronous energy that we're creating and we're building. Group focus and momentum can happen as a collective. As we start to get bigger, we start to consider using asynchronous tools like leaderboards and launching a video that people can join in on, having a remote room that's open where maybe they're doing a certain video game. We've done a video Olympics where we do classic video games in a remote space, and people's scores are then aggregated on a scoreboard. That allows for multi-time zone. That allows for multiple ways of aggregating people's scores and keeping them connected. You can make it a final reveal at the end and have a bit of a launch, shoot a video, or you can just have it kind of moving forward, the leaderboard, and then turn the leaderboard off for the last couple of days or the last couple of hours to increase that suspense. You can achieve scale by contemplating how you present it. In the smaller groups, it's easier to do it live. In the larger groups, consider a more asynchronous connection. Competition. We often talk about competition. Some facilitators avoid competition entirely, and competition isn't the problem. It's knowing your audience. Understanding what types of learners love competition are the ones that you want to offer competition for. So for example, mathematical logical learners, they love leaderboards. They love things that can be measured. That's engaging. That brings people forward into the remote activity. They love to be able to score things. Naturalistic learners, so those are like project managers, landscaping professionals, people who work with a very cause and effect categorical kind of job. They love to categorize and compare. So having different scores and evaluating different results based on a certain set of categories or measures, loving it. Interpersonal learners, they care less about winning, and they care less about the rules, but what they really care about is that everybody is involved. That's their kind of metric that they'll be competing with. And intrapersonal learners, they get stressed about the competitive pressures, right? So you want to kind of ease back and maybe not put as much competitive pressures on them and make it more of just a fulsome experience. Instead of deciding, should I use competition, it's more about how I use competition for my specific team. All right, here we go. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you today, just about some of the remote first activities that you could do. Don't forget the waterfall technique. It's super fabulous to create a very cool kind of experience. Remember to start with learning preferences, understanding how people want to learn. Helps them to lean in just that little bit more. And remember to exit at the high point of the learning, of the energy of the activity. Connect the work every time to the activities you're doing. Don't leave it sit out in a field all by itself. It has to be connected educationally. There has to be some sort of objective for what you're doing. And listen, if you're interested in learning more about team building and how to connect some of those things together, head over to our app. It's rubberchicken.ai. We will take you through the tools to be able to find out what your learning preferences of your team are, and then we'll take you into these individual rubber chickens, and you'll be able to have a conversation with them to be able to link into my 30 years of training and experience in building teams to be able to come up with something that's going to work for you. So listen, I hope the live stream worked, because tomorrow we're doing a really big one. And I hope also that you got the opportunity to learn maybe a few new things to put in your toolkit for your upcoming remote first team building activities. My name is Tyler Hayden. I'm from Team Building School, and we are super excited that you joined us. And check us out tomorrow at 10 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. We are having a full meal deal live event. So hopefully that one works as well as today worked, or if today didn't work, Hopefully it works better than it did today. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great day at work. Bye for now. All right, there we go. And